So, folks, if you read today's newspapers, you would have ascertained, I think that's the right word, that today's Desert Island Discs with Katherine Ryan would be explosive. Because today she calls out on air Russell Brand. Or does she? Let me explain. Read the paper today and they said today's Desert Island Disc, which airs at about midday on Radio 4, guest is Katherine Ryan. And normally what happens with Desert Island Disc, you get in your newspapers today on the Sunday who is the guest, 2 or 3 of the tracks that they're going to pick, and a lot of information about the guest's past, about the history. But this week, all that information wasn't released regarding Katherine Ryan. I believe reporters get this news on a Friday lunchtime, and then they write their own stories based on the information that Desert Island Disc release on a Friday. But the caveat is they're not allowed to write about Desert Island Discs until the Sunday, the day of the programme, so as not to spoil it for everybody. Anyways, this Friday they got virtually no information from Desert Island Discs about the Katherine Ryan interview. So they believed it was all going to be about Russell Brand, because obviously he's in the news at the moment, and his case, if that's the right word, there's no case yet, although I'm sure there's going to be, is extremely volatile, very explosive, and they didn't want to spoil the show and give anything away. Anyways, what I've done, I've not, I listen to Desert Island Discs on a weekly basis, but we're watching the Ryder Cup today, haven't yet bothered, though I have taped it, not listened to it yet. But I've seen something that's been in the press in the last hour or so since it aired, and this is what they say, and it's worth having a look at. So Katherine Ryan says she went on the programme with Russell Brand, was it The Roast or whatever it may have been? She was on a programme with this act, and in fact she doesn't mention Russell Brand, she doesn't mention the programme, so I'm leading it up the garden path. In fact, let me tell you what was said. She said, why won't I say who it is? She said, well, I'll tell you the reason I won't say who it is. It's because everybody knows who it is. What they are asking me is for the women's names, and that's what I won't give, and that's why I'm reluctant to talk about it, because it's up to the women themselves to come forward and the police to do a thorough investigation. So, what she's saying is, she wasn't the person on the show that was sexually assaulted, but she's calling a co-presenter a sexual predator. Now, everybody thinks it was the show she did with Russell Brand in 2018, and it turns out 6 episodes in, he left the show. Now, she says, I was working with the presenter, I don't want to say who it is, although she said, I'm guessing most people know who it is, but I can't say the name for fear of reprisals and what it can cost her in the courts. She says, but I work with this person who I found to be a sexual predator in my mind. She said, now I thought, what do I do? Do I call him out? Do I leave the show, sit at home and do nothing, but lose the money that the show would give me when really I've done nothing wrong? Or do I carry on doing the show and call him out? So she said, that's the one I went for. I never just name-called him and left. I never just left and said nothing. I decided to carry on doing the show. Why should I leave the show? But I would let him know that I felt he was a sexual predator. And I told him on a regular basis. She said, and after a certain length of time, the person left the show. And that's where we're at now. She said, but I have never been sexually assaulted by this person. But I know for a fact that other women have. She said, and that's why I aired it at the time. But, as I say, I'm not prepared to say who the person is. That isn't down to me. But I think many people know who it is. So that's where we're at, folks. She's reiterated the fact that she's worked with a sexual predator. Reports have always said it was Russell Brand. She hasn't said it is. But to the same end, she hasn't said it isn't. We're all pretty sure it was Russell Brand. He's got a reputation with the ladies, and since dispatches, it's not all good. He did work with her in 2018. He did leave the show early, so if you put 2 and 2 together, you tend to get 4 rather than 5, 6 or 7, which many of his followers, his devotees, are getting. So it's there. It's out in the open, if you like. Although it isn't, because she still hasn't mentioned his name. But I think it's pretty explosive stuff. As I say, I'm going to probably listen to it today or tomorrow when I get the chance. But I haven't yet. That's just reading something out of one of today's newspapers. No, one of the news channels, should I say. But yeah, Katherine Ryan seems to stand by her story that she's worked with she definitely stands by her story she's worked with a sexual predator. She seems to stand by the story that it's Russell Brand without actually naming his name. Confusing, I know, but that's where we're at this moment in time with it.